Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. Today we're here with some more High Elves, going to be facing up against our foul brethren, the Dark Elves. Definitely in for a very good battle and a beautiful cinematic map here, so let's jump straight to the army composition. So my forces are going to be led by Tyrion. He's an excellent duelist. They gave him a little more armor-piercing damage in Mortal Empires, so he's much better now, has amazing combat stats. One of the best in the game, also has Sunfang for really nice AoE damage. Also can carry the Heart of Averlorn, which will basically give him a huge burst of self-healing if he gets very, very low. So, can definitely be useful at keeping him alive, especially if your opponent goes very heavy on the gooning. In addition, we've also got a lore of High Magic Mage here. Of course, Tempest is going to be good if they decide to bring Malekith on a dragon, or any other dragons for that matter. Tempest is going to be very good at pinning them down, and of course, Apotheosis is great to be spammed. Every time you spam it, of course, you get the healing, and you also proc that Shield of Safri, which is a map-wide 11% damage resistance. Nice little damage mitigation buff there. Front line is going to be a combination of White Lions and Spears, so that we can go nice and wide here. We've got 4 Spears and 2 White Lions. 3 units of archers, and 3 units of dragon princes. So the dragon princes are going to be the main killing power of the army here. These guys, obviously 80 charge bonus, they have amazing combat stats with martial mastery, and they do indeed have 25% physical resistance. It is also worth bearing in mind that they have 70% fire resistance, and there are some units in the game that do fire damage just with their base attacks. A lot of dragon units do, so you want to double check that. Of course, Knights of the Blazing Sun, and anything with Lore of Fire. So, speaking of Lore of Fire, my opponent has indeed brought a Lore of Fire caster, which is a bit of an interesting pick against the High Elves. I'm interested to see how he uses it here. He's got the sorceress with fire magic here. Looks like she's carrying Cascading Fire Cloak, Flaming Sword of Ruin, and Burning Head. So all very good spells from that lore. Those are pretty much the spells that I take when I take Lore of Fire, so very good stuff. Got 2 Cold One Knights, one supporting there and one there. Forces are going to be led by a Dreadlord, and we are going through the army compositions, but let's go ahead and soak in some of this beautiful early charge here by these Dragon Princes into the front line of Blackheart Corsairs here. Going to be absolutely brutal. My opponent was a little bit out of position with his Cold One Knight, so I decided to come get this early charge in just to kind of punish him for that. And man, it does a ton of damage. We did over half the HP, and it's going to be even more, once they get a few more attacks in. But just brutal damage, and because of the high speed of Dragon Princes, their 78 speed is very fast for heavy cavalry units. One of the fastest heavy cavalry units in the game, actually. It's going to allow them to quickly pull away before my opponent can react. He's got a front line of 5 Blackheart Corsairs, 2 War Hydras, which is a bit of an interesting pick. These guys have, of course, the Flame Breath. They don't have base flaming attacks, but they do have the Fiery Breath, which does cause fire damage. So if you potentially cast, something like a Cascading Fire Cloak, proc that map-wide weakness to fire with the Kindle Flame, and then use a Breath attack, it's going to do that much more damage. Opponent's forces are led by a Dreadlord on a Cold One here, so this nasty lady is going to be leading the way. She's got some Cold One Knights at her back, and yeah, we'll go ahead and jump straight in since that's pretty much it. So, got that early charge in with these Dragon Princes here. Going to be my opponent also has a Khanate Assassin here that we're going to be kind of hunting down with Tyrion. Going to get a nice swipe there, and right away as my opponent's coming through, we're just going to quickly sweep back around this kind of little obstruction here and get another really beautiful charge in with these Dragon Princes. Already we've done a ton of work with them. Gotten some really nice value on 2 quick charges. We're going to be pushing around the other unit over kind of around this flank here, and I've also got the 3rd unit in reserve, but my opponent doing a very good job here, going to be dropping an absolutely brutal Flaming Head straight down the center of my archer line. I react a little bit late in trying to move them away, and I did take a ton of damage there. You can see about 40% HP damage there, about 20% there, so really good stuff. Beautiful Fire Breath from the Hydra as well. That Kindle Flame was procced, so it did a ton of damage to those White Lions, probably about 30% HP damage. But in the front line here, the Dragon Prince is just charging through their own lines, getting a beautiful lancing charge here. And the Flaming Sword of Ruin, because of the fire resistance of the Dragon Princes, giving all these units here in this center pocket flaming attacks is actually going to make them much worse at fighting the Dragon Princes. And, you know, they will do better against the White Lions and the Spearmen, but it's going to make them very, very poor against the Dragon Princes. I'm going to be focus firing with my archers onto the War Hydra, obviously, since they don't have a lot of armor. This is the best way for me to take them down. You can see he is taking a lot of damage here. We're just spamming out that Apotheosis since there's no targets for Tempest. We're pretty much going to be using all the magic for Apotheosis to proc that Shield of Saffron and get that healing, lining up a rear charge here. Over on this flank, we did get a charge into these Cold One Knights, and this other unit of Cold One Knights is kind of blobbed into their flank a little bit. So it does look like they're cascading Fire Cloak being dropped there, buffing their melee defense substantially and their armor piercing damage as well. But we are going to bring another unit of Dragon Princes in for support here to help bail their buddies out. So they're going to get a nasty charge into the flank of this exposed unit here and just be able to lance them absolutely. Just lance them down. You can see Murderous Prowess is popping off now, and it's still a very even fight in terms of the balance of power. A lot of these Black Ark Corsairs have been munched up, but we've still a few healthy units. Just doing as best as I can to cycle in and out with these Dragon Princes here, cycling this one around now this way. The other two on the hill here involved in this engagement are going to be tied up here for some time, so I need to use this third unit to kind of ping-pong around and help support this infantry engagement. Otherwise, I would probably lose. I mean, White Lions will beat, you know, Black Ark Corsairs, but Black Ark Corsairs beat Spearmen, and, you know, they could potentially gang up on the White Lions, of course, with the support of the Hydras as well. So you can see kind of just lancing these guys down here, just taking in the cinematics, and Tyrion's mostly just been soaking in this infantry engagement here, doing a lot of splash damage. He has taken a lot of damage as well, but we're just continuously popping that Apotheosis on him, making sure we keep him nice and healthy. My opponent's doing a good job of his Hydras kind of ping-ponging around to different targets, but he's keeping them together currently. What he really needs to do is split them off here and one here. You know, it's going to be hard because I have my archers all split up in different positions. It's going to be hard for him to occupy all three of them at the same time, but what is this here? Interesting. I'm not sure I know what that is. I guess that must be an item from maybe the Candidate Assassin or the Dread Lady here. Not 100% sure. I might have to look at that afterwards, but Candidate Assassin has taken some damage, but he's still in here firing with his bow, going to be doing some okay damage. We did win the fight on top of the hill against the Cold One Knights here and pulled away. Now these units of Dragon Princes have cycled in, got a beautiful rear charge here and broken most of my opponent's infantry. You can see the balance of power starting to shift in my favor. We've routed off both Hydras. Obviously they have fairly poor leadership. Looks like this one's actually rallying now. But we are going to be able to keep them mostly zoned out here, and having claimed the high ground, we are just going to kind of surround and start circle beating on this Dread Lady here, and Tyrion's just cycle charging this Candidate Assassin, definitely making him regret his life decisions up to this point. So, very good stuff. Just absolutely bullying him, man. Tyrion's a mean guy. But yeah, at this point, you know, balance of power is pulling slightly back here. This Fire Sorcerer is a little bit surrounded by spears right now, and also getting charged by the Dragon Prince is going to be pretty rough. But it does look like we're getting a nice Dragon Breath, and my opponent's been doing a really, you know, pretty good job of just continuously using those Dragon Breaths on those Hydras. They've been able to rack up quite a bit of damage. 72 kills here and 63 there is pretty decent. But it does look like we're going to be getting another Burning Head through here. Really well played by my opponent, getting that Burning Head there. Going to roast a ton of my infantry there. Absolutely brutal. Got quite a few kills, and it is actually going to be enough to terrify pretty much this entire pocket here. Just that shock damage. But the Hydras are not going to be able to get away from the Dragon Princes, and we've now got them zoned in with spear support, and yeah, it's pretty much over. You can see Tyrion's fighting one-on-one over against the Dread Lady in a bit of a duel here, so the Dread Lady does have pretty decent stats, but she really can't compare to Tyrion in terms of raw combat stats. Obviously, she has much better armor-piercing damage, but yeah, Tyrion, I'd imagine, would probably take that in a one-on-one duel. But very well played to my opponent. It was a fun battle. Hope you guys enjoyed watching that. From an army build perspective, these, yeah, Dragon Princes are the real MVPs here. Two of them racking up 2 chevrons, quite a few kills across the board there, just absolutely making mincemeat of those Black Ark Corsairs in the front line. Tyrion himself tanking out a ton of damage, getting 42 kills, pretty decent. Spearman helped hold the line. White Lions didn't get a whole lot of kills, but, you know, my opponent didn't bring a huge army to begin with. And the archers as well took a nasty Burning Head there, but did quite a bit of damage against the Hydras. One of them actually picked up a chevron from the amount of damage they did, so that was really nice. And yeah, for my opponent's build, the War Hydras are a bit of a stealth pick. Their leadership is really low, and that's the biggest issue I've found when using them. But that Fire Breath can potentially do a lot of damage, and obviously they do a lot of armor-piercing anti-infantry damage. Well, it's not purely anti-infantry, but a lot of armor-piercing damage, and can definitely help support an infantry engagement. Cold One Knights are good against everything that the High Elves can bring, pretty much, except for Dragon Princes. Dragon Princes have such a better charge bonus. They just crush Cold One Knights. They really do. So, honestly, in my opinion, for the same price, I like to bring the Lizard Limos just because they have that armor-piercing ranged attack. They're really good against infantry, and they can kind of hang around with cavalry, at least for a minute, until you get some spear support or something to help them out. But they do cost the same as the Cold One Knights, but the Cold One Knights do have that anti-large armor piercing, so, I mean, obviously they do great against things like Silver Helms, or, other units like that. They're even good against, High Elf infantry, being that most of it's fairly heavily armored, but, yeah, I like, personally, to use the Lizard Limos a little bit better, but, well, I apologize about that. Go away, Windows. I will update later. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed watching that battle. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. I'm keeping it coming with more Total War Warhammer 2 content every single day, so stay tuned for more, and we'll see you next time.